Okay, well, welcome everyone. I know it's been quite overnight and day of anticipation, but this will help distract you from that. We appreciate your ability to participate tonight. This is our first STEM Forward Educator Forum that we've done virtually, and we're excited by the participation numbers that we have. We are recording these sessions so that they will be available to everyone after the forum has concluded as well. And I'd like to just take a moment to introduce the presenter and then also remind you that we will be sharing all of the resources from our presentations tonight. I will put a link into the chat box here in a moment. At the end of the third session, we'll have a link for the evaluation, which we would just ask that you take a brief moment to fill out for us. And so with no further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Nicholas Wysocki, associate professor. Associate
All been
professor at Winona State University, Rochester. He will be talking about equity in STEM education, and I will turn it over to you, Nicholas.
Perfect, thank you. I appreciate everybody attending this session. So again, just as Amy said, my name is Dr. Nicholas Wysocki. Just please call me Nicholas. I'm associate professor at Winona State University. And I'm gonna go ahead and advance my slide here. So just a little bit of quick background. So my expertise is in social foundations of education. So educational sociology, educational history, and cultural study are my areas. And so at Winona State University, I work with undergrads across all licensure areas, whether K-12, 9-12, 5-12 majors, regardless of whatever their content area for licensure, they have a set of courses that they take, whether it be the ed psych course, ed sociology, our professional educator. We have a set of courses that students will take as part of their licensure program. And as a university professor, my key roles are teaching, research, and service, as any university professor does. And what I want to do today is talk about a certificate program that I developed that is designed to kind of pull this teaching, research, and service all together with the intention of bringing this to all of you as STEM educators to see if there's a way that this research kind of program can be a benefit as we look at equity issues in STEM. So the certificate program is called the Multicultural Education Certificate Program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this link for just 1 second here, take you to it. So the Multicultural Education Certificate Program is the program itself. So I would always refer to it as MECP for short. All right, so going backwards here just a bit. So the intention of this program was to appeal to a number of professional sectors in the Olmsted County area. So whether it be healthcare, education, law enforcement, social services, I can go on and on and on. The intention was a conversation that I had with my dean in 2015. How might we shape a program which would involve some research that would benefit all the professional sectors I just named? And so what we did was I put together a set of courses, and then I shared those courses with a number of stakeholders in the Olmsted County area. This was in 2016. So I developed the courses in 15 as a brainchild with my dean, and then showcased and had a conversation with a number of professional sectors in 2016. And so what I want to do is talk briefly about the program. So it is a 9 credit hour program designed to be 1 year in length, with the rationale that is twofold. First, the intention was to have people within their professional sectors identify some equity issue that they wish to study, all right? And now most kinds of diversity training or equity training tends to be this kind of scattershot, let's do it over 2 days, and then everybody's an equity specialist. I have a hard time with those kind of structures versus The 1-year program was the intention to say, how might we engage in a deep ethnographic study of a particular context? So it could be a professional organization, or it could be a community in which you would study an equity issue that's related to your professional sector. And you would do it in 1-year length with the intention of really collecting good, solid data. I'm in Rochester here. Sorry about the motorcycle behind me. And so I designed the courses and ran it through the Graduate Council for the Winona State University, as well as our MINSCU. And so the certificate is now MINSCU recognized. My intention was to make the certificate affordable to folks, and that's why the 9 credit hour structure was in place, with the intention of people could fold this into a graduate program, or they could let the certificate stand alone. And we were able to offer financial aid to folks as of fall 18. My intention with the certificate was to appeal to working adults, in the sense that I wanted to make the certificate manageable for folks who are busy like all of you within your professional sectors. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and click on this again. And my intention is to, again, share with you just a quick sense about the coursework. As you can see here, 4 courses made up the program. Foundations of Multicultural Education, Home, Community, and Work Analysis, Systems of Discrimination and Social Justice. Yep, Amy?
Your screen is still only showing the PowerPoint slide. So if you go down to share screen, at the bottom, you'll have to choose the other screen. Sorry.
Yep, I appreciate that. We're all getting used to, there we go, thank you. All right, can you see now, everybody,
No, now we're not seeing anything.
I have a better idea. Let me do this. I'm going to put the link into the chat box and let everybody take a look at it that way. Let's do it that way.
And it is actually already in there.
Okay. So if everyone could actually open that link. And then to the far left, click on Program. And then you'll see the list of courses. Okay, Amy, if you want to scroll up just a little bit, that'd be great. Thank you. All right. So again, the intention was to create these four course structure that was designed specifically to help people engage in an equity analysis. So the Foundations of Multicultural Education, very quickly. Amy, if you want to click on the MECP 500, yes, click on that. So the intention of this course is for people first and foremost to start to think about their own cultural competence. And if people are familiar with what is called the Intercultural Development Inventory, or the IDI, this is the assessment that I use in this first course. Now, for those who are familiar at all with this, the IDI is an analysis tool that looks at your cultural competence based upon the experiences that you've had working with a variety of diverse others. Most people are familiar with the IDI, but the problem here is that it is not the be-all end-all. What's most important is once you do the IDI, it is the intercultural development plan that you shape afterwards that becomes more important. All right, so what I like to do here is the analogy of, all right, if I want to lose weight, I'm going to step on the scale. All right, what is my weight at that moment? Now, what are the things that I'm going to have to do if I wish to lose weight? That scale just gives me the measurement of where I am. IDI works the same way. But the most important piece is the intercultural development plan. And so the intention here is how much you shape different activities or experiences to build your cultural competence. So that's what this first course is about. And in addition to analyzing yourself and your own cultural competence, you name an equity issue that you wish to study in your professional sector. And that study can occur on an individual level, or it can occur with a group of people. And that's the latter thing that I think is going to be most appealing to this group, is how might we study an equity issue together. Then Amy, if you want to click on the MECP 510, this course is what I call the methodology course. And so what I do in here is I give the participants this idea of what is ethnography, this in-depth study of a particular context, an issue within that context. And so I work students through that ethnography process. And then another thing that we do here is we do the, with any kind of study that you do, you've got to do the IRB, Institutional Review Board process. And so in this second course, I walk people through how to do the research protocol to actually engage in research. And if you want to click on the third one, this third course here is what I want to call the analysis course. So this is where we collect data and we analyze that data in terms of what is the idea of social justice, and what does this data tell us in terms of how we might improve programming in some way? Because the intention is to build competency for ourselves, as well as identify an issue that we can improve practice. So that's the third course. And then the fourth course is the professional presentation of research. So the intention here is, where might we present this research to a professional audience? And so I take people from all kind of walks. Some people have been in graduate school experiences before. Some people, this is all very new to them. And so I say, with the professional presentation of research, that can occur, for example, at your organization. So people can provide their organization with a sense of, here was the research that we did, here was the data we collected, here was our analysis, here are some suggestions for improvement. Or what they can do is they can present at a conference. And so they do complete the abstract, and they present at a formal conference where they're presenting to their peers. And so I take people wherever they are with that presentation experience, with the sense of they are now showcasing what it is they learned. And the intention of the certificate is to improve practice. And so the data that we collect gets analyzed with the intention of, how might we provide different services? Okay, Amy, thank you so much, appreciate that. All right, so I'm gonna go back here again. All right, and so with this particular certificate now, there are 3 different delivery models. The original graduate certificate program, which was developed from its infancy. I also offer a training program that can be specific to an organization, like what we're doing here with the STEM Forward conversation. And then my department is also considering looking at this in terms of an undergraduate minor for people who wish to take these core courses as described, but also take additional coursework in other areas that can strengthen their expertise in a particular area. So my intention here was to give you a foundation of all the coursework, with the intention of showing you here again how it's broke down. So the intention is 1 year in length, so that we really do an in-depth analysis. All right. And so what does this MECP mean to this discussion about STEM education equity? And so I had a conversation with Carrie Kubicek about this program, with the intention of trying to bring it to STEM educators with the sense of, how might we explore equity within this field? And I want to give you a little bit of background on this. I just want to teach science quote. This was from one of my undergrad students who I teach a course that everybody has to take, this educational sociology. Basically, it is this multicultural course that all teacher educators need to have. And this particular individual was like, why do I need this course? I just want to teach science. And I get that argument. I understand that if he's thinking in terms of the heroes and holidays approach to discussing equity, I understand that may not be of appeal. Versus, what might we look at when it comes to academic achievement in the STEM fields, and who's achieving, who is not, and why? And there becomes the basis of this question: do equity discussions belong in the teaching and learning of STEM, and if so, how? And so the goal of my workshop today is for us to identify some possible equity issues that we could study. And so each and every one of you represents an organization, and I'll get you to introduce yourselves in just a bit. But again, equity is going to look a different way to each and every one of you, depending upon your professional role and the organization that you're in, as well as the community in which you exist. And when I talk about equity, folks, I want us to understand that it can be focusing around ethnicity and race. It can focus on language, gender, socioeconomic status, students with any kinds of exceptionality. We can go the whole range. So please don't think about this equity as solely focused on equity and race, although those are very important. I want us to understand that we can really expand this conversation broader than just that. And so again, I want to think about some equity issues that we could study within our specific organizations, as well as the demographic populations of learners who are impacted by the discussions we are having. My goal would be that we could identify these issues and share those back to Carrie with the intention: could we put together a cohort of STEM educators who could look at doing study at their own organization or maybe within multiple districts? We can decide that as we go. Once those equity issues are identified, just like any good research, my job would be to help the STEM educators identify bodies of literature that can give us a sense of who's having discussions in this area, who is doing work in this particular field, whether it be research or the kinds of practitioner things that I think all of us like the most. Is some people don't like research so much, but they love to see how other folks are looking at doing neat kinds of projects or innovative things within their school districts. And so those bodies of literature, we can define those as a cohort to say, these will shape the kinds of research questions we wish to ask. All right, and so my intention would be that we identify these issues today as a group. We bring those back to Carrie with the intention: how might we recruit you individuals right here in this workshop, as well as others, to become a cohort to engage in the MECP? So I've been talking about this idea of equity, but let's define it. So I really like this definition by the STEM Equity Initiative. This is out of Baltimore, Maryland. And there's really two main things that they look at as how might our learning environments close academic achievement gaps? And so, for example, I defined the various populations that we could look at. What does our achievement data tell us? When we look at grades, achievement scores in terms of assessment tests, where might we see achievement gaps? And how might our learning environments close those gaps? Another central question to ask is, how might we build interest in these academically challenging and highly necessary programs and fields of STEM? So as we think about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? Rigorous fields that make an impact and nationally and globally, as well as they can be lucrative for folks too, as we think about our students who are most marginalized. And so I think we need to name those things. You know, I might even add a third to this, which is the ideologies around STEM. All right, so what are the kinds of mindsets that our students may have about, okay, can I see myself as a scientist or a mathematician, as an engineer? Can I see myself, do I identify in those fields? And so when we define equity, I want us to think about really, you know, these two central things, but also those ideologies that exist in the minds of our students, or even us as teachers. You know, who do we envision as mathematicians or scientists or what have you? So before I get to these discussion questions, what I'd like us to do is to, I want to kind of yield the floor and do some introductions. So could I have everybody introduce themselves as well as their organization and their role in that organization? If people would be willing to do that, just so I can get a sense about who's here. And Amy, they're able to unmute themselves, correct? Okay. So if I could have people just introduce.
All right, I'll go. I'm Rob Notch. I am a chemistry teacher at Sartell High School.
Okay,
Meg Henning, I'm also a chemistry teacher at Sartell High School.
excellent.
I'm Sam Northy. I'm a science teacher, chem, bio, earth science, all of the above at MNVA.
Perfect.
I'm
Ben-
Eva Speeds Winston. I'm the equity specialist at Career Technical Education at the system office from Minnesota State.
Okay. Eva, there was a little bit of delay. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again?
Mhm.
There was a mic issue.
I'm the seat equity specialist for Career Technical Education at Minnesota State.
Okay, perfect.
Ben Hoffman. I teach life science at Sartell High School.
Okay. Perfect.
Good evening, I'm Julie Keeney. I work for Winona State University and I am in a support role with Nicholas Wysocki and have seen the great impacts of this program.
Perfect. Are we missing anybody? I feel like there's one or two other folks. I think we're good. Okay, so what I'd ask you to do is take a look at these two sets of questions, because what I want to do is I want to put us into a breakout room, and I'll just look at trying to get a nice even number across the rooms here, and let's spend maybe about 10 minutes just thinking through these questions together, thinking about your own professional role, the organization that you serve, and what these things look like. And if I can ask folks to please choose a recorder who could actually write down the answers that the group provides so that I can bring these back to my discussion with Carrie. So what I'm going to do is I'll stop sharing the screen for just a second. I will, perfect. So Amy put the first question there. Amy, can you put the second one in there too for me?
I only got the first half typed before you took it away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What demographic populations of learners? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So everybody has the questions here. So I'm going to, Amy, I'm noticing that I don't have the breakout room option.
Okay, let's see.
There, let's see. Nope, I still don't.
Okay, do you want me to do it?
Sure, if you want to just put people evenly into each room, that would be great.
2 rooms?
Let's make them a little smaller. Let's go like maybe, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 10 or 11 folks. Let's do like maybe 3 per room.
Okay.
All right, folks. All right. Amy, I decided I'd step out so that people can have a conversation by themselves.
So we've got 1 group of 3 and 2 groups of 2.
Excellent. I think smaller numbers allow for more conversation. Looks like we have someone else just joining us.
Yes. Hello, FSR Gath. We are in breakout rooms Would you like me to assign you to one?
FSR Gath, could you identify yourself and introduce yourself for me, please?
Yeah, if you can hear me, I'm not sure if you can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
So what's your name?
Rochelle.
Was it Rochelle?
Yep.
Rochelle. So Rochelle, I just did an introduction to my program, and then we're in a breakout room looking at 2 discussion questions, and you can find those in the chat room. If you want to just click the chat box
Okay.
and let me know when you can see them.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, just wondering if I can get into a different room. The person in my room was not there.
Okay, no problem. Let me
Let's see.
reassign you.
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, I'm moving you into a different room now.
Sounds good.
And Rochelle, if you can see the questions in
Yep.
the chat box there.
So I was in a different one. And I think I clicked on a button here on the.
Looks like Ben didn't move.
Let's see. Did you get a notice, Ben?
No. Oh, wait, maybe. Well, it says, hold on once. Let me see something here.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Perfect. All right. And I'm able to broadcast the message to all, correct? If I click on the,
You should be able to. Everyone should be able to see the chat, and then through the breakouts, we can broadcast too, although I'm not entirely sure if you, well, you should be able to as co-host.
okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'll just put something in the chat. I'll just say, please choose a recorder. There we go. So Amy, I'm glad you caught the fact that when I shift from the PowerPoint to the website, I can see it, but they can't. I'm just blathering away.
I think he tried to click on that, so.
Oh, no, thank you for putting it into the room, because I think it's a mouthful. And so for people to be able to actually see the courses and get a sense about the certificate is phenomenal. So.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a good turnout. I'm really happy we had this many folks. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect for any of the sessions, but this is one of the better attended ones, so that's cool.
Good. That's wonderful. Yeah, so my goal would be, and I'll talk more about this with the participants, is that we can identify some. I'm so used to running my own Zoom that there are certain things I can do and there are other things I can't. I'm like, I want to be able to control that. We'll give a chance for everybody to start coming back here. Looks like we're waiting on a few more folks.
I think this is actually everyone. We're at 9 now.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, if I could have those who recorded notes share a bit of your discussion. And what we've done is we've enabled the share screen so that all of you can show your discussions.
Gosh, I keep doing that. Now, in our group, we didn't actually literally record them. We all kind of soaked in what was talked about. But I think the major things that we talked about is, one, the information is not relatable to the student population. Finding ways to engage them in the discussions can be challenging, not necessarily because it's online, but because they may not be able to relate or have been exposed to that information, or it's just,
Yep.
you never know. It's not just about the academics. And I know when I talked about one particular student population where there was no connection culturally to the content. But I also shared that if there's no engagement to allow them to share ideas about their learning and find different ways to engage in it, then that's also the challenge. I don't know if I summarized that very well.
Yeah. Okay. So if I can just paraphrase a little bit. So the STEM information, whether they are in science course or mathematics course, is the information that they're learning, those concepts, relatable to the students? Do they understand those? Do they have the academic knowledge of those? Can they find application to their daily lives? Are they having opportunities to engage in any kinds of science or mathematics learning or application thereof?
And the other thing about that too was being taught to, rather than kind of facilitating your own learning.
Okay.
The part that I add to it.
Yeah, so being taught to, as opposed to that student-led kind of inquiry, like, all right, if I'm going to engage in any kind of science learning, what ways might I ask questions that allows me to engage my environment?
Yep.
Okay. All right, another group.
Our group talked about the inequity of having high-speed internet and how that's so critical for distance learning, and how you know, a lot of us take it for granted. We kind of just assume, make that assumption that everyone has it, and you know, every district is different. For example, ours, every kid has a device. We all use the same platform of Zoom and Schoology and so on. And in talking other people in our group, for example, Sam, he talked about how, you know, they have maybe different platforms for different classes, or maybe that wasn't the case, but different districts, different platforms, different classes. It can get quite confusing for kids and hard for kids. But internet was a really big inequity.
Okay, and so can I expand that too, to say, all right, internet speed becomes obviously important when it comes to distance learning, but the idea of, do we all have access to the kinds of materials that allow us to engage in some in-depth learning of STEM fields? You know, and so in addition to obviously that technology equipment, all right, the kinds of things that are used in labs, do students all have access to the same kinds of materials that will allow them to engage in and quality STEM engagement?
I want to clarify what he was saying. The kids all have the same platform for across the classes.
Yep.
But they have 3 to 4 platforms they have to manage. One's for your grades, one's for your going in and doing your like virtual classes. One is for your content. And then if there's any augmentation, like a virtual lab, that's on a whole different platform, sometimes outside of the standard content.
Yeah.
It's all linked, but I mean, it could be Java based, it could be Flash based, it could be HTML5. And as I was saying, also we that grew up with computers know how to navigate between systems like that. Kids that use computers for communication devices only don't see that web of programming.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. What other issues came up?
And I think we ended up with only those two groups.
Okay, just the two groups. Okay, so perfect. All right, so folks, let me, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again. All right, so my goal here was, again, obviously to get some share outs from you in terms of some things that are on your mind. The next steps for me are this, that I want to bring some of these conversations back to Carrie, as well as all of you in terms of how might we identify some possibilities for research that people can engage in. So all of the things that were just listed here, as well as some other things that probably you can generate in your own school, right? What are some questions that we might be able to explore using the MECP as a structure? And so let's see here. Julie's still with us. So Julie, can you talk really quickly about the certificate structure that, if you could just talk them through that pamphlet quick, and then people can look at that at a later time.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to do that. So as we've worked to develop this program into a format that really not only meets the needs of the teaching staff and instructors, also that it's in a format that works with and understands that you are all full-time teaching. Even if you're part-time teaching, you're full-time teaching. And I know that because I've been there. So we offer a program that is quite flexible, and depending upon the needs of your cohort, your group, or your school district, we can help to really bring information to you in a way that works best and complements what you're doing. So it's really to support what you do every day with students. It's primarily a program that is self-paced, as well as then instructor-led, face-to-face, when we can do actual person-to-person and or virtual instructor-led type of sessions that are in between a lot of the learning. So it's meant to be self-discovery as well as application. And that's, I think, the real beauty of it, is that it brings about a program that can meet a need that's really customized, specific to your situation. It's something that you are living and recognizing, you know, day in and day out in the work that you do. We have it also structured so that it's non-credit as well as credit-based. So we can have, for those who are interested in a step increase or to have credits through a university, that can work toward a master's or other programs that you're working on. So the bottom line is that it's flexible. It's really adapted for what meets an equity issue and the work for you in what you do with your students.
Yeah.
Is that touching on what you were wondering about?
Yeah, so Julie helps, Julie does the logistics piece, and then I will handle the academic content. And so our goal would be that you identify an issue that's specific to your building or your school district, and we'll help you explore that. So with the time left here, I want to say thank you all for attending, and please inquire more about this, because again, we can tailor this specifically to you and your organization.
And I'll just point out that Nicholas's email is in the chat if anyone would like to reach out to him after this, and you will get follow-up from Carrie Kubicek as well.
So thank you all for attending this session, and enjoy the rest of your forum today. Thank you all for participating. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, can you hang on just a second?